Yo, it's your boy Max Numbers, and today we're covering everything you need to know about speed tuning. So let's talk about what speed tuning is for those of you who aren't aware. Speed tuning is where you adjust the speed of your characters such that there are no gaps in your combat readiness for your enemy to exploit. So this means that every character on your team gets to take a turn without any enemies getting to take a turn. Speed tuning is one of the most important things in Arena. Upon your combat readiness booster getting a turn, you just guaranteed that your whole team gets a turn. There are a couple things that can counter really good speed tuning, such as Sageball Sazan, Halag Lance, Idle Shear, just to name a few, and I'll talk about each one of those and how I personally deal with it at the end of the video, so hopefully that helps you out too. So you know why we speed tune, which is to make sure that our entire team gets a turn and gets to kill something on the enemy team before the enemy team ever gets to take a turn. That's the goal. Now, what makes that difficult in E7 is the fact that characters have a plus or minus 5% speed variance at the start of battle. That means that a character with a speed of 100 can be anywhere from 95 to 105 speed at the start of battle. Now, to clarify, this doesn't change their actual speed, it only changes their combat readiness value at the very start of battle. At any point beyond the start of battle, their combat readiness is going to increase at a rate directly proportionate to their actual speed. I'll use my arena team as an example for this video. So I have a Bacon who I use as my first CR boost at 232 speed. She has Shuri and Helga imprints the majority of the time, which brings her to 252 speed. Bacon CR boost is 25%, which means that at the start of battle, in the very worst case scenario, I need to be able to have my next CR boost be at a minimum of 75 combat readiness. You know how I talked about worst case scenario, right? Here, our worst case scenario is the largest possible gap between two characters' speed. So plus 5% for my fastest character and minus 5% for the slower characters. And here's how you go about calculating it. So I'm gonna go through how I actually mathed it, but at the end I'm gonna give you just a quick plug and play formula so that you can calculate what speed you need given your fastest character's speed and however much combat readiness boost you're gonna use. Alright, so first, you multiply 252 times 1.05. The reason we do this is because you're multiplying by the 5%. So that gives you 264.6 speed. For safety, I typically round up on my fastest character's speed. That way, I'm assuming the farthest gap possible. I'm not sure whether Epic 7 actually rounds up or down, so I just try to do things the safest way possible. Next, you want to figure out what amount of CR boost you need the next character to be at. So I have a 25% CR boost, so that character needs to be at 75% to reach 100%. So we multiply that 264.6 times 0.75. That equals 198.45. Since this 198.45 is our worst case scenario speed, we need to know what the actual speed is. The worst case scenario speed is the minus 5%, so to calculate what the actual speed is, we'll divide by 0.95. This gives us the actual speed to shoot for. This is your absolute minimum speed if you want to have no CR gaps between the characters. So that number turns out to be 208.89. Side note, later in the video I'll show my character's actual stats. Don't freak out, the Shuri speed is 202, but remember, I have speed imprints. My Helga's speed imprint brings my Shuri speed up to 210. That's another thing, if you have speed imprints, don't forget to account for those. Now finally, we're at the point where we calculate the cleaver's speed. Now there's a reason that I calculate my cleaver speed next and not calculate my attack booster speed. And I'll talk about that after we do this calculation. So we do the same process, 264.6 times 0.5 equals 132.3. We divide 132.3 by 0.95, we end up with 139.26. The reason that you calculated the speed on your cleaver before you're calculating the speed of your attack buffer is because your attack buffer only has one requirement, and that requirement is that they go before your cleaver. That's their only requirement. All I do is once I get the speed that I'm gonna have my cleaver at, I just multiply my cleaver speed by 1.15, and that's your minimum speed. Like, you don't really have to do anything else. There's no possible way for your cleaver to go after your attack buffer at that point. If you want your attack buffer to go before your CR boost, that's fine. After your CR boost is fine. Again, all you gotta do, make sure they don't go after your cleaver. That's it. For those of you who wanted that easy peasy formula for you to plug and play, that's just going to be 1.1053 times your needed CR percent, 75% would be 0.75, times your max speed, which was 252 for me. That's it. And as you can see, we get the same answers as our whole process above. So now, when you're speed tuning, it's easy. And here's a couple quick tips on how you can counter Sage Balsazan, Purgus, Idol's Cheer, and Halaglance. So 1. Pay attention when you start an arena fight. Know what you're fighting. If you're fighting Halaglance or a Idol's Cheer, it should pop up at the battle start. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, but just kind of pay attention. And if at all possible, just don't hit healers if you're not sure. It sucks, but hit the tank. The reason I say hit the tank is because Halaglance only procs if you hit the tank's allies with a single target attack. You could also just AoE attack the team, but that could proc Idol's Cheer. So it's catch-22 sometimes. You just gotta pick a good target. To deal with Sage Balsazan, the best thing you can do is to single target burst him early in the round. Unfortunately, the only character that I'm aware of that's any good at this and has a CR boost is Bacon. Maybe you could run either Coley or Ascoli and nuke him, but the goal here is to get him below 50% before he gets his turn. Unfortunately, a lot of times you can't stop him from getting his turn, so your best bet is just get him below 50%, and then he won't use his skill 2, he'll only use his skill 3. So that was the last little nugget of wisdom that I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed this little session of information. And if you did, please let me know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, if you didn't like it. But that's all till next video. Till then, max out.